Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Smedberg, and I want to welcome you to our August live stream event. These monthly programs give us an opportunity to really dive deep into CWS programs, both domestically here in the US, as well as programs all over the world. And today we have joined by two amazing guests. We have Marielle Septien, Border Programs Manager with CWS's Migrant and Emergency Services Program, and Ahmed Abbas, our call center manager. The call center is a unique program to support asylum seekers and other newcomers here in the U.S. Ahmed, Marielle, welcome.
Thanks, Adam. It's great to be here.
Ahmed, I'd like to start with you. I understand you and your family are currently going through the asylum process. I believe you've been going through it now for about 8 years. Can you tell us, give us some insight as someone who is presently going through the process?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. Yes, I had the honor to have a more than noticeable role in the Egyptian Revolution, also known as the Arab Spring. After that, I had to escape to Mexico with my wife. We had a successful shrimp business. Too successful that it caught the attention of the Mexican/government cartel, and our life. We had to receive several threats there as well. So we had American visas. We were not planning to go anywhere, but we just had them, and we had to our only choice was to escape to America. So we escaped to America 2013, where we filed for asylum. 2013. We had an interview after 4 years, 2017, where they told us, we'll give you an answer in 2 weeks. And since 2017 till today, we did not have an answer yet. That's about 8 years in the asylum process.
Okay. So it's about 5 years since your interview, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Marielle, you hear Ahmed's story, and I know you've heard hundreds, if not thousands, of other stories of other asylum seekers and newcomers. Where does this story fall in scale? Is this typical of what you hear? And that waiting process, I mean, 5 years since the interview, 8 years since coming here to the U.S. Is this typical for this?
Yeah, so first, Ahmed, I want to thank you so much for sharing. And I'm sorry you and your family have had to wait for so long. But we are glad that you're here. And I think your story is truly an inspiration to us, as well as a reminder that the asylum process in this country is not easy. Adam, what Ahmed describes is not unusual for an asylum seeker. For many asylum cases, multiple hearings are required before an immigration judge reaches a final decision. So you have asylum seekers who arrive at the immigration court through two different paths. They can either be referrals from asylum officers within USCIS, which are known as affirmative cases, or they can be in response to deportation filings or proceedings by DHS, where their claims are raised as a defensive case, which, that's the second option. And in general, an affirmative asylum case has traditionally had a lower average wait time, I believe, than the defensive cases. However, that's no longer the case, and this reflects both the relative growth and the amount of arrivals that we've had over the past decade from both of these cases in the United States. There's a huge backlog. There's, under the defensive asylum process, applicants must go through the immigration court system, which faces lots of limitations. And like I said, over the past decade, with the amount of arrivals, just the funding for immigration judges and asylum officers has really failed to keep pace and meet the expectations with the increasing caseload. I do want to let everyone know that if asylum cases haven't received an answer, they are able to apply for a work permit after a total of 180 days. have passed after they've filed their asylum application. So that is a little bit helpful, but it still must be very, very difficult to remain in this limbo without knowing, whether you and your family will be granted asylum. And I would also argue that 180 days to be able to apply for a work permit, right, is a very, very long time. People should have the right to work once they get to the United States. So I do want to say, however, that we know the Biden administration is investing in resources and processes that could help significantly reduce wait times, including conducting credible fear interviews at the border to help people get through the system a lot quicker. And he's actually thinking of deploying asylum officers to the border to help with these interviews. But as you know, Adam, this is a very political climate we are in, and he has faced some backlash for these changes. There are concerns out there from attorneys, for example, that if credible fear interviews are done quickly at the border, then asylum seekers won't have time to gather their evidence or speak with an attorney before going into that interview, which is a lot of times key for getting asylum. So we are waiting to hear back about some of these changes that the current administration is trying to make and how this will impact asylum seekers in the future.
Thank you for that, Marielle, and for the update. And anybody who's watching, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments in the chat, and we will ask our guests, at the end of our interview with any questions that you may have. Marielle, I want to stick with you for another part of that. As we're talking about asylum seekers coming to the border, this past June, the Supreme Court ruled on I believe it's referred to as the Remain in Mexico ruling. What is that? What are we going to be seeing as an impact on that? I know it's been less than 6 weeks since that, but what's the expectation, probably over the next 6 months on that ruling?
Yeah. So I unfortunately don't have too many updates for you besides the one that you just shared. We also know that on Monday, the Supreme Court did certify this ruling, allowing the Biden administration to end the Trump-era border policy that makes asylum seekers wait in Mexico for hearings in the U.S. This policy, as you know, it's technically known as the Migrant Protection Protocols, also known as Remain in Mexico. And so while this is a huge victory for our asylum system, very, very little detail is known about when or how this program will end. And the White House has been very silent on this issue because there has been so much backlash in the past few months among both groups, that are on different sides of asylum. And so after that ruling, the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas did say that justices would need to communicate this decision to the lower court, which in turn needs to lift the order to keep the policy in place in a lawsuit filed by the state of Texas. And beyond that, like I said, administrations have really said very, very little, including whether any of the thousands that have been subjected to this policy will be allowed to enter and remain in the U.S. while their cases are being considered in immigration court. Now, I do really want to say here that the amount of people being placed into MPP under the Biden administration has significantly decreased, and we're not seeing nearly as many people enrolled into that program as we were with the Trump administration. And I want to make sure the audience knows that in spite of Title 42 and MPP still being in place, arrivals at the border are up. Shelters are extremely busy. They are receiving hundreds of people a day, many with extreme vulnerabilities that have been granted an exemption or have been given humanitarian parole. And so while we still really need to press the Biden administration to remove both harmful policies, many people are able to still access our asylum system, and shelters for the most part have been very busy. So, if Title 42 and MPP are lifted, we expect NGOs to become even busier.
Gotcha. Well, let's shift gears for just a moment here. I want to bring Ahmed back into the conversation here and talk a little bit about the call center. This is a unique program to CWS, and I understand it started in 2019. The center has fielded over 10,000 phones, assisting over 21,000 individuals and families. As an asylum seeker yourself, Ahmed, can you tell us what kind of resource this means to others seeking asylum here in the U.S.?
Absolutely. In short words, it's vital. The call center is designed to receive calls from all types of immigrants to help guide them with comprehensive referrals. The big majority of our calls are from individuals seeking asylum, as you said. Individuals who crossed the borders or released from federal custody. At this point, these individuals have very little money, almost no food, no clothes, nowhere to go. Some has families or friends, relatives, someone that they can go with in the U.S. A lot lately, they don't have that. And that is where the role of the call center starts. We receive calls from all those people and other types also later in the stage of asylum, to guide them through all the possible resources that could be free or low cost, because there is not yet a federal program designed to give those people a decent life, to help them live. Because, as Marielle mentioned a little while ago, they still don't have at this point the right to work. So the question is always raised: how are they going to live? We help guide them to all the possible resources around. We have databases that has all those resources, and always increasing. For example, hello. I need food. I just passed and I'm hungry. My family is hungry. Where do I go? I have no shelter. So we in those cases, for example, we refer them to food banks. America is abundant. There is a lot of food in America, but they don't know about it, and there is no program for it. Some states, few states have maybe they help. They have some states have the SNAP program, the food stamp program. Some other states have medical assistance free medical assistance for minors here and there. But even the existence of those states and those programs, those people, when they come, they don't know about those programs. So we help them apply to those programs and be aware that they exist and receive those resources. Also, again, as Marielle mentioned a little bit before, how to navigate the legal system here. Those people cannot afford to pay a lawyer, and the expenses for private lawyers are very expensive. And there are pro bono lawyers, but those lawyers have the wait list filled up for years to come, because again the numbers are increasing and increasing. So it's very, very, very challenging to find a pro bono lawyer. So in order to go and continue with your asylum case, in order to receive a work permit, the right to work, needs a lawyer. So we try to fill in the gap. We try to give them some legal information. And if there happen to be a pro bono lawyer, we also refer them this. And many other services that they can possibly ask for. Sometimes we just answer a simple question, such as simple as, are my kids eligible to go to schools in America? Which we answer that. We tell them which is the nearest school that you can take them to. Another question, very simple, such as, am I allowed to go travel within the U.S. Without a passport? So many things. So this is basically what we do.
That's quite a bit of resources and different areas that you all cover there at the call center. And I can imagine with the 10,000 calls that you've received, you probably have some very unique stories that you could probably share with us on some of the families that you've worked with. Do you mind sharing a couple of those with us?
Absolutely. First of all, I would like to say that we, as you said, the number, we do not collect private personal information from the callers because we really respect their privacy. And we understand that many of them, because of maybe wrong images, wrong ideas, they are worried, they are afraid. So we don't want to make them feel that we are some kind of governmental body that is trying to expel them or get them. So we do not collect private information, like name. We do not collect names. However, we collect, for example, we ask where they are in the US because this program is quite unique, as you said, is the first program that in the United States of America that gives this help on a national level. Any person in any little town in the US can give us a call and we guide them through the resources where exactly they are. The biggest number of, beside the food and medical assistance, the legal assistance, because it is a challenge, but we already talked about that. But definitely, some stories are more unique than others, not as frequent, that we remember quite well. One time there was a pregnant woman. She had an ankle monitor, and because of the pregnancy, she's getting bigger, and it gives her all her foot was swollen because of that. All her leg was swollen because of that. And there is no guideline what to do in this situation. Nobody knows what to do. How can I take this off? There is no process for it. So she called us, and the call specialist, the people who answer the phones of the call center are called call specialists. They are the ones who do the magic. So they didn't know what to do, but they contacted ICE and contacted the doctor and got all the info on how she needs to get a report from the doctor that this is causing her life to be threatened and the baby as well. And then the ICE officer was very understanding and very receptive, and she was allowed then to take away, and they took away her ankle monitor. And actually, she was grateful. She sent the picture of the baby to the person who answered her at the call center. Another quick story. There was a person in a certain state that had a relative in a detention center, in an immigration detention center in Eloy, Arizona. So he wanted to travel to pay the bond, the bond for his relative to come out. But he didn't. He actually called us to try to help him with the ticket or something. But we told him that there's something in America called bail bonds. And we called right away on the phone. We researched, actually, I had this call myself. Researched somewhere some bond service that helps, that serves the Eloy area. And I called them and I connected them. I even discussed how much exactly he would pay and so on. And the parent was able to get the relative right away without needing to go travel to Arizona from the East Coast. So some infos like that. Another one completely different would be an LGBTQ asylum seeker just arrived to the US and they needed to take continuous hormones, and they didn't find that because they don't know where is that. Right away, while they're on the phone, we researched that and we found the clinic especially for that, especially that gives those hormones and for free. So we connected them to it and they took it right away. Those kinds, some more or less. That answers the question.
Those are great, and definitely a few different ones there to share. And Ahmed, as we're talking about the call center, what would be some resources that, as you guys are looking, over the next 6, 12, 18 months, that you need, that will help continue to build on the resources you're able to provide the services you're able to provide others?
Definitely. First of all, what we try always to do is to have more resources that we give to add more resources to the data, to our database, to give to our callers, and this and answer more calls as well. Get more calls, so more outreach to bigger part of more categories of immigrants and more numbers of asylum seekers. So instead of 10,000, we want 20,000, 30,000, every one of them, because we have hundreds of thousands coming every year. So more personnel working here, because what we do here really, and I'd like to mention that, as you mentioned again, I'll go back to this point. This is a really unique program because it is the first of its kind that covers all this big country that is built on immigrants. And the 50 states, we receive calls from almost 50 states, 49. And it is a sign, since telephones were invented, that now CWS have this amazing program. It's just a sign telling the world, America just picked up the phone. Anyone is coming, we say hello. You are welcome. How can we help? Are you hungry? We can find, we have enough food for everyone. We have shelters for almost everyone. We have a place for everyone, and it's a sign saying that. We need more resources, more workers. We need to hire more people at the call center doing this job we're doing, and because it is working, and America is abundant and has a place for everyone. We're just trying to let more people know about that just arrived and feel that they are welcome here. That's it.
Thank you for that. And for our audience watching, if you'd like to, step up and help our folks at the call center, we've got our link down below, and it's going to be in the chat here in just a moment. You can head to our page here and learn more about the call center and how you can support the great work that Ahmed and his team are doing. I do want to just jump into a couple of quick questions that we received. The first one is from a viewer on YouTube. So Sierra asks, and this may be, we'll put this to both of you. She asks, are the families coming along the border mainly from Central America, or are there families from different places around the world? Marielle, we'll start with you on this.
Yeah, great question. So the short answer is no. They are not mainly from Central America. We are seeing people coming from all over the world. Being in touch with border shelters, I think the countries of origin change from week to week. But for example, right now I can share that we're seeing a lot of Cubans and Venezuelans. We're seeing lots of Ukrainians, lots of Russians, some people from Africa. And so it really just varies, from day to day. But I would not say that they're mainly coming from Central America. And then Ahmed, I know you have a sense of this as well, right? With the different amount of people that are calling.
Absolutely. It depends on which disaster is blowing on the planet, where and when. So we did not have as many Ukrainians as in the past few months, for example. But all of a sudden, the amount of Ukrainians increased because they come to Mexico. Many Ukrainians don't have a direct visa to the U.S., so they come to Mexico and then cross the borders. But that, just exactly as Marielle said, it's just an example. We have many from Angola. We have many from Central Africa and West Africa, Congo. Central America is closer to others. So, but also it depends where in Central America. Cubans and Haitians are more than others lately, but then in other times, Colombians, and it differs a lot. Yeah.
And I know, Ahmed, I think I heard something before we get to our last question. Just to kind of tie into that, the call center, you guys are capable of taking calls in a few different languages, if I remember hearing correctly. How many is that?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I meant to mention that, but yes, we answer calls over. We have a helpline that enables us to answer calls with over 200 different languages. However, the personnel themselves all speak Spanish, including myself, and so the calls in Spanish or French or Arabic are received right away without even the need to interpreters. But any other language, we answer right away.
Wow, that's incredible. 200 languages. I'm blown away by that. So we do have one other question. I want to pull up here real quick. This one comes from Roberta Smith. Roberta, thank you for your question. She's catching us on Facebook. She says the call center is an excellent and much needed resources for asylum seekers. Thank you, Ahmed, for your work to support newcomers. How would a family seeking asylum but not connected to CWS access the call center for information? She also wants to know what kind of support do you need to continue providing the service? I think we talked a little bit about that just a quick moment ago. And we'll put the link back up into the chat here. Also, how can others around the country contribute to ensure this service continues? So Ahmed, just talk a little bit about that with that first question about families who are not connected with CWS getting information on the call center.
We do not receive just calls from families connected to CWS. What we do, and this I work parallel a lot with Marielle department as well. What we do is that we distribute contact cards to many shelters on the borders, and actually it's Marielle who helps us doing that. So to as many as we can, and any person that gets the number, or sometimes they share it with other people, they give us a call right away. They don't have to be connected with CWS in any way, or not in any other programs that we might have. We make different types of outreach. So sometimes we contact the local city offices of helping immigrants. Many big cities that have big population of immigrants, they have liaison officers with immigrants. So we outreach to them, telling them, please, we give them contact cards as well, and different types of flyers that they can contact us anytime. The call center we answer calls all weekdays from 9 to 5 Eastern time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. I know this is probably a conversation we could have for at least another hour or two, but alas, we only have 30 minutes to talk today. So, but thank you both so much for joining us. Thank you, our audience, for joining us as well. For everyone who joined us, if you liked what you heard, hit that like button, hit that the share button. Share this on your social media. Let your friends know, let your family know about this great resource that's available to our vulnerable neighbors in need who are looking to come here. And if you'd like to learn more about the work that CWS is involved with, you can check out the links in the chat as well. Again, also, don't click away. We've got a great video for you that we're going to be tying everything up here with. So don't click away just yet. And I hope you'll join us again next month on Wednesday, September 21st. We're going to be joined by CWS President and CEO Rick Santos. He's going to be talking with us about the global food crisis that is expected from the invasion of Ukraine. That's going to be affecting many countries throughout the world here over the next several months. So until next month, we hope you have a wonderful and safe time. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Adam. Bye, Marielle.
Who are asylum seekers? People seeking asylum are just like you and me. People with lives, plans, and dreams for the future. But war, violence, and persecution have forced them to make an incredibly difficult choice. Some face danger because of who they are or what they believe. Some are in danger because they refuse to give in to the demands of violent gangs that are targeting their families. Others have watched as their homes were destroyed and their neighborhoods became war zones. All of them left everything behind, for a chance at safety for themselves and their children. Like refugees, people seeking asylum are afraid to return home because of persecution or violence, but have not yet been granted refugee status. After leaving their home countries, many asylum seekers undertake extremely long and dangerous journeys to seek legal protection in the United States. Some travel for hundreds of miles on foot to arrive at the southern border with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Others spend months planning to arrive by plane. Once asylum seekers make it to the U.S. and tell an official they would like to seek protection, they are screened to determine if they face credible fear of persecution if they were to return home. Then, asylum seekers must wait to have their cases heard before an immigration judge, who will determine if they will be granted protection as a refugee. It can take months or even years before asylum seekers have their cases heard in court. During this time, they face a waiting period before they can legally work and don't have access to the same government services as other refugees. Even though more than 90% of asylum seekers show up for their hearings, many are forced to await their hearings while being held in harsh prison-like conditions in immigration detention. We are there to support them through the difficult waiting period and beyond. We support border shelters that welcome asylum seekers after they are released from detention with a warm meal and a safe place to plan their next steps. Our call center connects asylum seekers with social services and volunteer networks in the places they are going to reunite with family members and communities. Through case management and legal services, we make sure they can access support systems and get a fair hearing in court. In partnership with the communities we serve, we support asylum seekers as they work to rebuild their lives and secure a bright future for their families.
America.